Are you tired of playing your gacha game and you're not able to get the cool new character that you really want because you run out of freemium gems? You might be able to spend more on gacha than you realize. Welcome back with the Plat. Today we're going to talk about gacha spending a little bit, and I'm going to show you how you could probably spend more on gacha than you think that you can and still be in totally a good financial spot. So what I have done here is I have made a mock budget. So we're gonna look here. This is not a real budget. This is not mine, but this is something that I made using an estimated $3,000 income. Now I did $3,000 because that is the average income of the United States is about 3,300 a month. So I just knocked it down to 3,000. I'm not saying you do make more or less than this, right? Let's get this out of the way. All right. This is not financial advice. I'm not recommending you spend more on gacha, okay? I'm not a financial advisor. I am merely going to show you what kind of being aware of your spending and your money is going to be able to get you to the things that you really, really want. And so this isn't specific to you watching this. This is a general thing that pretty much anyone could, this is a general budget that isn't perfect for anyone, but it's going to be pretty good and pretty close for everyone is kind of the idea behind it. So let's kind of go over it here. The first thing I really want you to pay attention to is over here. I have two versions of this budget, the current one, and then I have an ideal one when some things get paid off. But so here's the thing here. Right now, you can see we're going with the needs, wants, and debt system. Normally it's a 50-30-20. We'll get into that. We're doing a 60-20-20 split. What does that mean? 60% needs, meaning 60% of your income is going to go to needs. What are needs? I have it right here. Rent, internet, utilities, gas for your car. If you have a car payment, then a car payment, the insurance for your car, food, groceries and work lunches, food. And at this point, I would say a cell phone is essentially necessary, a monthly cell phone bill. So these kinds of things are your needs. And your goal should be ideally 50%, but that can be pretty darn hard right now, especially off a $3,000 income. So getting your needs down to 60% is still, in my opinion, an okay spot to be in, because that still leaves us 40% for both wants and debts. So let's go into the debts first. So this is assuming that you have credit cards, okay? And that this is putting $500 a month towards your credit card payment until it's paid off, and an extra $100 towards your car until that's paid off. You could rearrange this. If you have student loans and you don't have a car payment, right, you can adjust that. Typically, I would recommend going with the higher interest stuff first, just to save you more money. But kind of however you do it. The point is you're putting 20% of your income to payments. And this is kind of very important to me. This is something I'm not really budging on when I do this budget. This means if you follow this, something like this, you are going to be spending less money than you make, flat out. You're going to be spending less. You're going to be living off of less of what you make. And you are making noticeable, strides towards a financial goal of being debt-free, car paid off, that kind of stuff. So you're putting 20% of your income here. So because you're living off less than you make and you're putting 20% of your income towards debts, unless you're in a really bad spot right now, I think that this gives you the freedom to spend that other 20% in a very free and open way that you don't need to stress out about pretty much at all, or you don't need to feel guilty about, because this is what I get into a lot of. A lot of people's like, I really wish I could pull, but I don't know. I can't. I spent the extra $10 and I felt bad, yada, yada, blah, blah. Like, I can understand. But this, if you decide ahead of time, you can actually spend what you want. So let's actually go to the wants. Wants are, the big one here is, like, for a lot of people, is going to be restaurants. This includes eating out. Anytime you're not eating at your home, I would put that into a want. This isn't a need. It is a luxury. And then I put MISC here. MISC is an important category to have when you're trying to budget stuff like this, is because this is like a bucket that catches things you may not have thought of, because it's hard to think of everything. Like if you're making an initial budget, then you forget, oh shit, cat food, right? Maybe you forgot to put cat food up here, so you put it in here. It's like, oh, I need a new pair of shoes. I didn't think about a clothing budget, right? So MISC is kind of good because like it will help you catch all the things that you may have forgotten. And as you budget more and more, the MISC category can become smaller and smaller as you can more accurately think of all the things that you don't realize that you spend money on, right? So I do recommend having a slightly beefier miscellaneous. And if there's extra money in here at the end of the month for your wants, you could choose to save it, you could choose to put it on your debts, or you could choose to blow it because you're already putting, I think, a relatively reasonable amount of money towards your debts. As this is an intro level stuff, by the way. This is not necessarily what's optimal. Mathematically optimally is to go live with zero rent and to have no wants and put everything into savings, right? Put 99% of your money into savings. This is trying to find a middle ground between someone who wants to get more gacha, is having trouble financially, but also is still making progress on their long-term goals. So this one right here is actually important. This is your thing, okay? And what do I mean by your thing? Everyone has a thing, all right? Everyone has a thing that they care about. It could be video games. You could want to buy a full price, brand new AAA video game every month. You might want to buy anime, Netflix, streaming services. Those are all things that are like your thing. What do you really care about for your entertainment? What makes you happy? If it's Spotify, because you just can't live without Spotify, you can't live without YouTube Plus, you can't live without something. This is kind of whatever your thing is that it fulfills you, makes your life better, and you don't want to have to go without it. And I think $100 a month dedicated to your thing is fine. The issue is when people have too many things. It's like, yeah, I really like having a nice car. That's my thing. So I don't mind an extra $100 a month in my car payment. But also, I really like getting Uber Eats for every meal. And also, I really like going and see every new movie that comes out in the theater. And I like buying every new video game. And I buy lots of manga. It's like, you have too many things now, You have to narrow your things down to the things that really matter to you. But as you can see here, finally, we have the gacha. And this is what I think is really cool. You have a $100 planned budget in gacha. And I wanted to make this $100 specifically because in Persona 5X, that is enough to spend about $50 per patch when it comes out. It's probably closer to $45 per patch, and then you buy the monthly battle pass thing, but you get $100 per month, but it's about $45 to $50 per patch, which is what I spend in the game right now. So this is how much I spend. I spend $100 a month in a gacha game, but you know what? I think that's totally fine, and I don't feel any stress about it at all. And I think that you following a budget like this absolutely could spend $100 a month. I guarantee most of you are not spending $100 a month. I'm sure some of you are, but a lot of you are not. But if you're making $3,000 a month, and these are roughly what your expenses are, if you can get to 60% of your needs being met, and then you put 20% towards your debt in your future, then you have 20% open to just do whatever you want with. Like, I think it's important. There's an important aspect of budgeting is to mathematically do it smart to a degree, but I really do think that there is an emotional element, right? Like when I've lost 115 pounds before when I was dieting. I went on a big diet and lost a lot of weight, but I always had cheat days on Saturdays because what I said is Sunday is a lot closer than someday. I wouldn't have had the strength to diet for 2 years straight, or like a year and a half straight, if I didn't have those cheat meals, because I would have been like, when am I ever going to be able to eat something I like ever again? So I always had my cheat meals. And for me, budgeting, I think, is kind of like that as well. If you have no fun, no anything in your budget at all, I think you'll just end up saying fuck it. Like 2 months in, you'll get really hype about it, you'll get excited, and then you'll just say fuck it. Life's not fun. What's the point of anything if I'm miserable all the time? So I think it is important to bedazzle your life, have fun with the stuff, but also be careful and track it, and be very aware of what you're doing. All right, so that is the first budget. And before we jump into the second budget, one thing I want to make very clear about budgeting. I've talked to people about budgeting before, and a lot of times I'll get something like, I don't like restricting, I don't like the way I spend money to be restricted, or it feels like a child to have an allowance kind of thing. Like there's this mentality of it's restricting you, it's causing you to not be able to do what you want. That is the opposite of what you should think about a budget. This is your today. When you make a budget, all it is your today self deciding what you want to spend for the upcoming month. You make all the decisions. If you want to not put any towards your credit card and you want to put it all $600 in gacha, baby, let's go. Be irresponsible. If you budget that, at least you are making that decision consciously. It's when you don't know really what you're doing and you're not budgeting at all that you are going to run into problems without seeing them coming. So A budget is not restricting your spending. It is you deciding in advance how you want to spend your money. Keep that in mind. Now, one thing I want to get into that's going to be really hurting you, and it will help you kickstart your gacha to the next level, is car payments. Car payments are absolute killers on your finances. I mean, I recommend literally zero car payment for your entire life, because that's what I'm doing for my entire life. However, that is a little bit on the extreme end, and there are some small car payments you could do. I would never finance more than 3 years at maximum, and to get a relatively small payment, I think 10% of your income is too high. I would half that at max, $150 probably in this situation. But I tried to make something that was more realistic to people, right? What people were doing. So let's say you get to a spot, you're following this, right? You're putting $500 a month in your credit card. You're not getting any money. You're not putting any money on your credit card because you're living off less than you make. So your credit card is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So now we're a few months in the future. You've paid off thousands of dollars on your credit card. You're putting that extra money. So let's say you pay off your credit card in 4 months. And then over the next 2 months, you put all $600 towards your car payment. And boom, within 6 months to a year, you're completely debt free. All right. Now we look at the other budget here. Now this is where we finally get to the 50, 30, 20. 50% needs, because the car payment being taken off with the exact same income brings you straight down to a 50% of your needs. You have just saved $300 a month on your needs, which is huge. And now, because your car is paid off, and look at this, now instead of being car payment and credit cards, this gets to go into your own pocket. You get to spend this money on yourself to start building an emergency fund, or you know, if you already have an emergency fund, start investing it, getting compound interest, you know, all the fucking nerdy finance stuff. That stuff does matter. But this is kind of where we want to be, but I understand not everyone is here yet. And this is what's really important here. Look at your wants. You get to go straight from, you get to take that extra $300, and if you want, you could put it right into the gacha. So you can go from $100 a month. You could literally, on a $3,000 budget, you could spend $400 a month on gacha. I do not recommend that. I do not think that is intelligent, but I'm telling you, if your needs are met and you're putting 20% of your money into savings, maybe up to 25%, but if you're putting 20% of all the money you make into savings, investing in yourself, and your needs are met, then I honestly don't really give a shit what you do with your wants. Is it optimal? It is not optimal. But again, that is something that is kind of up to you. This is a really good spot to start, I think. This is the kind of budget that you do for like a year or two as you really get comfortable with 20% of all of your money going to your debts and your savings. Then after a few years, you're going to have a bigger pool of money. That's going to be where you kind of want to start shifting a little bit more. Maybe you decide, maybe your income goes up and you decide you don't really want that much more than you're already getting. You're already getting that. That's when you could start putting more and more and more into your savings, right? Your needs probably aren't going to go up too much, but they'll go up a little bit. Your wants might stay relatively the same, but you're able to save more. And when you save more, then you could buy another nicer car, or you could just invest it and make a lot more money in the future. But this is kind of wanted to talk about. After you get to this spot, even with a $3,000 income, you could get to the point where you're spending over 10% of your money on gacha and not even have to feel bad because you're being responsible. It might seem irresponsible. I understand. It's like, what, you make $3,000 a month and you're spending $400 a month on gacha. But keep in mind, when you're saving that money, you're getting all your bases covered, and you're living within your means. You can afford to have gacha be your thing and to spend more on it than a financial advisor would recommend. I'll be honest. I don't recommend it, but I kind of wanted to just do this really quick to show you what the options are. The point is, you don't need to spend $300 or $400 on gacha. I'm not even saying you should, but if you get to this kind of spot, you could easily spend $100 a month, $200 a month, $100 on 2 different gachas and not feel any guilt, not even have to think about it. It's already budgeted. It's there. You have the money. You have the savings. You could spend that money and just do whatever. Have a good time, you know? And I think that would take a lot of the stress people have of gacha. I think it would, when you have a very strict budget, it also prevents you from chasing losses in a sense where, okay, well, I'm 30 pulls away from this character that I really want. But it's like, if you hit the budget and you're trained in that, you're like, well, you know, that's just, I'm not going to get this character. That's fine. Or if you've saved up free to play and you decide you want to spend to get a character, you don't need to feel bad because you'll have the budget there to decide that you want to do that. So this is kind of one that I want to talk about. It's a little bit of a crash course of how to budget while also being feigned as a gotcha thing to keep up with the theme of the channel. But this is something I'm very, very serious about not budgeting on. That 20%, I think you could go with like 15%, 25%. Honestly, I think you should really, really, really try to put 20% plus into your credit cards, your student loans, your student loans, if it's a low interest, can maybe wait, but your car loans, your credit cards, get that really high interest stuff paid off, and then start immediately paying yourself that exact same amount. If you're putting $600 towards a credit card every month and you pay off the credit card, take that $600, put it in your bank account. Just keep making the payment, but now instead of losing money, you are making money every single time you do that. So yeah, kind of a weird video. I thought it'd be fun, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of put this in the context of a gotcha where I could tell you to spend a couple $100s a month. Anyway, save Persona, spend more money. Peace out, guys. Much love for Platypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye!